Hello everyone, and welcome to Moonacre Creations. Today I have an extra special Halloween episode, so let's get started right with our design. The bulk of today's project will be making this T-length broomstick skirt, which is a style that I absolutely love and is also very beginner friendly. Featuring all of the autumn colors, burnt orange, mustard yellow, burgundy, mushroom brown, and with a simple black apron over top. Let's take a look at our fabric selection. I wanted to have a good mix of pattern and texture. I have been saving these fabrics for a while for this project, almost all thrifted. I think that adds a lot to the mismatched look that I'm going for, and it's more sustainable. So let's start on tier 1 of the broomstick skirt, which will be 6 inches. I'm gonna get right to cutting a slice off of these huge fabric bolts. I got them for only $6.99 each at Salvation Army, which was insanely cheap, but the colors aren't right, so I'm gonna have to dye them. And I'm just eyeballing these cuts. If I have extra, then it is what it is. I'll just have extra orange fabric. And I'm just measuring out 7 inches, which is just 6 inches with a ½ inch of seam allowance on each side, and I'm just cutting along the lines that are already in the fabric. And then just taking my chalk and measuring out 7 inches for the other pieces of fabric. And here we have all of our pieces ready to sew. I'm going to sew them together end to end and add a French seam. For a standard French seam, you just sew wrong sides together and then trim off the excess, and then you fold it and sew a line over the folded halves. And this just makes for a really simple, clean seam, so it looks just as good on the inside as it does on the outside. The next step is to literally sew for hours and hours until you have a really long strip, and then I can start pleating. For the top layer of the skirt, you want the pleats to be very wide, so they're 3-inch inverted pleats on this section. I'm just eyeballing them because this skirt's going to be so huge. I really don't want to spend the time pinning them all. I don't think it's necessary at all. Yeah, they're just approximately 3 inches. If they're off, it doesn't matter because I'm adding a type of elastic to the top anyway. And then you just keep sewing for the rest of your life until the whole strip is pleated. So let's get started on this waistband. It's just 4 inches folded over with a French seam. Now I'm going to trim off the excess, and then the French seam will be sewn onto the first tier of the skirt, and the waistband is extra long because I'm going to put a string through to tighten it. Here's the finished result. It's like a mile long, but that's what we're going for because when I put the string through, it'll be extra puffy. I have this natural fiber string, and I'm just going to tie a knot in it to keep it from fraying on the end. And And I'm just going to put a safety pin through to help guide it as I put it through the waistband. It's a huge difference if you use a guide. I think the color of this rope ended up matching really perfectly, and the wide waistband I love because it's more one size fits all, and if I am not the only person ever wearing it, it's perfect. So let's get these fabrics dyed. I'm just using good old-fashioned RIT dye in Tangerine. Here are the fabrics for the second tier. The dye came out good on most of them except the floral, which looks really pink in real life, so I'm not going to use it. So now starting on tier 2, which will be 12 inches and 13 with seam allowance. The same process as before, just marking 13 inches down. That includes a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then cutting into long strips. And now a break from sewing to stamp the fabrics that were just dyed. I'm using a standard water-based fabric ink. I think puffy paint or something like that would also work, but I chose the expensive option for some reason. And these are just regular old silicone stamps put over with a roller. I love using these stamps because they're very inexpensive and I can make my own pattern and I don't have to spend a fortune on pre-patterned fabric, and yeah, it just keeps the whole thing really affordable, and I like how it looks as well. It looks very vintage and homemade, which is the look I'm going for with a project like this. And I'm just dividing the strips into a few different lengths to add to the patchwork strip and then sewing it just like tier 1. Just the same as tier 1, French seams throughout and then pleating it around 2 or 3 inches. You know, the more it's pleated, the more poofy it'll get, which I love, but it takes forever and ever. These skirts are so pretty when they're done, but they seriously take a lifetime to sew all of these tiers. Because this tier doesn't need to be as cute and noticeable as tier 1, I'm just doing simple knife pleats, and that'll make it go a lot faster. And then just attaching tier 1 to tier 2 with a simple French seam. Here's how it's come out so far. Looks good, looks like the design, so everything's going well. Now on to tier 3 and 4, which will be 12 and 6 inches for the bottom. So just the same as the other 2 layers, sewing French seams throughout and then attaching it to tier 2. Tier 3 has about 2-inch pleats, and tier 4 has 1-inch knife pleats about every 10 inches or so. The skirt was getting so huge at this point, I didn't think it was necessary to keep consecutively pleating. And I just finished off the bottom with this black bias tape. And here finally is the finished product. I'm leaving this leg slit because I like the way it flows when it spins, and it's more versatile for the future. And now on to the simple apron. So I'm just measuring out a 30 by 30 square and a 4-inch waistband that will be folded over. So now I'm just sewing up that waistband with a straight stitch. Then I'm going to turn it inside out and iron it flat. And I'm just hemming the waistband with a simple whip stitch. And now I'm just hemming the apron square with a simple rolled hem. Now just to mark and line up the 2 pieces of the apron. Then I just pinned up 2-inch knife pleats with a inverted pleat in the center, and this brings the apron top to around 11 inches. I think the easiest way to attach the apron to the waistband is hand sewing, so I just did a simple whip stitch. And here it is, all done. So now I'm getting ready to put it all together, and I'm going to pair it with this pumpkin head I made a few years ago, and let me know if you want a tutorial on this pumpkin head, because I'll surely make one. And now I just have to put it all together. I'm pretty much happy with the way this costume turned out. There's just a few little craftsmanship errors that I'd want to go over, just to make sure I'm showing what it actually looks like and how it actually turned out. Some of the seams are a bit rocky or came undone. I'll have to re-sew a few. It adds a little bit to the rustic look, but ultimately I would have preferred they be more solid. I'm very happy with the form of the skirt itself. It spins really well, it moves well, it looks how it's supposed to, it has an even length hem at the bottom, and the overall construction I am pretty happy with. I'm happy with the stamps. They came out nice and clear. It's my first time using them, so I'll for sure be using them in the future. To wrap up this project, I'm really happy with how it came out. I'm so excited to wear it for Halloween. It's really comfortable and it came out just how I wanted, so that's always a good thing. And thank you all so much for watching. This is my first video ever, so if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.